camping doesn't have to be an expensive hobby. Most of the items you have in front of us here are actually very inexpensive, and I'm going to walk through the item and the price associated with it so you guys can get a better idea of how much it's going to cost to get started with this fantastic hobby. So let's get into it. So over on the left-hand side here, or my left-hand side, I've got my sleeping equipment. So first thing I have here is my sleeping bag. So this is a Coleman Traverse 0 degree Fahrenheit bag. So this is my winter bag. I am in the process of looking for a summer bag, something just a little bit more lightweight I can use to pack in on these long trips. But this bag is super warm, 0 degree Fahrenheit, very, very warm bag. So I use this for my winter camping, ice camping, stuff like that. It's a very good bag. I can't remember, I've had this bag for years and years now. I can't remember what I paid for it, but this would be something that I would consider a worthwhile investment. So if you are looking to spend a little bit extra money, I would highly suggest using that to purchase a good sleeping bag. Because if you aren't warm at night, your camping trip is going to be very, very frustrating. So highly recommend a good sleeping bag. The next thing I have on the list is a sleeping pad. So this is my sleeping pad. I got it probably a month ago or so. I just wanted a better foundation between myself and the ground. So I put my sleeping pad down first. Typically I'll put a tarp underneath that as well. Sleeping pad, and then I'll put either an air mattress or a foam mattress or something above that as well. And that's what I'll use to actually sleep on. So highly recommend getting some sort of a foam mattress. These are super light, Woods brand. Yeah, not much else to say about it, but it just essentially prevents your sleeping pad or your sleeping mattress from getting a hole in it, which unfortunately a couple months ago I did that happen. So I am in the market for a new air mattress. So if you guys have any good recommendations, put them down in the comments for me below. The next item is a fleece sleeping bag liner. So again, this is kind of a winter item, but I like to include it in my summer camping trips as well. Sometimes you're not cold enough that you need the big sleeping bag, but you're not warm enough that you can't use one at all. So I often bring this little fleece liner. So all it is just a relatively thin base layer, but in those really cold winter camping trips, it definitely helps to have some sort of a fleece or wool liner in your sleeping bag, whether that's a blanket, a liner, whatever it is. It definitely helps just give you that added little bit of comfort. And again, I can't remember where I got this. I've had it for 10 plus years, but it always does the trick, and it's relatively good quality. It hasn't worn out yet, and I've got my fair share of use out of it. So highly recommend getting yourself one of these as well if you're doing a lot of winter camping or ice camping. The next item on the list is my backpack. So again, this is kind of a budget backpack example. There's backpacks out there you can get for hiking and backpacking that are going to be drastically more expensive than what I have here. This backpack I've had for a number of years. I actually got it as a gift back when I was 15 years old or something like that for a camping trip. It also doubles as my hunting backpack, so nothing fancy. I would recommend one that's got a waist strap, which this one does, and that way it's just less wear and tear on your upper body when you're hiking through the bush with this. Also good to have one with some adjustable straps in the front, so that way you can put your sleeping bag or your sleeping mattress or whatever on the front of it, and you don't have to take up backpack space inside the backpack. So again, this item's probably worth maybe $100, but if you don't want to spend $300 plus on a fancy hiking backpack, hit up Facebook Marketplace or whatever your search engine is and just purchase something that's going to be relatively durable, large enough to hold all of your camping equipment, and you'll be very happy with it. Okay, so now that we've covered kind of the base items, we're going to get into some of the nitty-gritty stuff. So the one thing I highly recommend you to pack is a good camping tarp. So this is my tarp. Again, this tarp is pretty cheap. I didn't really want to justify spending a lot of money on a tarp, just being that I spend most of my time either camping in a tent or an ice shack. So really the tarp is kind of a second thought for me. So you can definitely spend a little bit more money. I think this tarp cost me like $12 or something like that. So relatively inexpensive. It does have these guides on it, which help you put your tarp straps on or your paracord. Make sure you have those guides along the entire tarp, and that way you can strap from different locations, use the paracord to keep that tarp nice and tight when you're setting it up on your shelter. So that's another thing, highly recommend it. The other thing I would recommend is trying to get a good size tarp. This one is a 10 by 12 footer, which gives me enough flexibility to make sure my entire body's covered depending on what shelter style I choose to build. So for most of the lean-to shelters or A-frame shelters you're gonna be making, a 10 by 12 tarp is gonna be pretty much everything you need. Okay, so the next thing we'll get into is more the shelter building / survival type items. So the first thing I'll start with is my hatchet. So when I bought this hatchet, I wanted something relatively inexpensive and lightweight. I don't use a hatchet a whole lot. I generally do most of my work with a saw. So this is just a Fiskars 13-inch hatchet. It's very lightweight, composite material, which definitely won't be as durable as a wooden steel hatchet, but for me it does the trick. I also wanted one with a sleeve for it so it doesn't cut things up as it's in my bag. So this sleeve, just open up this little dial here, and then your sleeve just pulls off and exposes the hatchet. So again, super easy, fairly lightweight, does exactly what I need of it. It's more just for clearing brush and clearing sticks away. I'm not using it to actually chop much wood. And then to pack it away, you just put the cover back on it, just like this, and then turn the dial, and it's all good to go to put in your bag. The next item on my list is this saw. So this is actually a recommendation. I just got it in the mail a couple days ago, but I broke my other folding saw and I was looking for a small, relatively compact folding saw that I could use for my camping trips. Most of my camping trips, I'm using generally like 6 to 8 inch wood or logs to cut up for my shelters. So this is the backhoe Laplander. I believe this is the 9-inch, so it's maybe just a little bit small for what I'm going to be using it for, but again, I wanted something relatively lightweight and very compact, as well as something that wasn't going to break the bank. So this saw, I bought it on Amazon. It was like $55 or something like that, Canadian. So relatively inexpensive. I did look at the Agua. I think there's another comment of the Pocket Boy, I think it's called. Both of those saws are going to be $80 to $150 range. So if you are looking to spend a little bit more, those saws would definitely give you something more durable and larger to cut that, 8 to 10 inch diameter wood or logs that you'd be building for your shelter. So again, something relatively compact and relatively inexpensive was what I was looking for with this saw. So I think it'll do the trick. The next couple items, I have insulated gloves and a bug net for my face. So if you're in bug country, which I am here in Northern Canada, I would highly recommend getting a good bug net, whether it's for your entire body or just your head. I just use one for my head because bugs on my hands, whatever, they don't really bother me that much. That's why I also have the gloves. So if I get bugs, if it's cold, if I'm doing lots of cutting wood and I don't want blisters on my hands, a good pair of gloves is definitely a necessity. One of the other important items, especially if you're in bear country, is a good bottle of bear spray. So I have this bear spray, counter assault, picked this up. Fortunately I haven't had to use it yet, but it's definitely a good safety item to have on the trail with you. Whether you're in the campsite, sleeping, on the trail, it's good to have this handy just in case you get in an encounter with a bear. You never know when you might have to use it. Some other items for woodcraft shelter building, a good knife. This is a Remington knife. Again, I've had this one for years. It's got a nice sheath. Yeah, it's pretty simple, very sharp knife. I use it for cutting up fat wood, grinding down birch bark, that kind of thing for when I'm doing my fire starting, as well as just, cutting paracord, random activities around the campsite. And then I also bring a backup knife with me just in case that one gets lost or ruined. This knife is a multi-tool. It's got obviously the blade, folds down. And then the other really cool thing about this knife is it's actually got flint and steel in it as well. So here's my little piece of flint. It just tucks into the knife, just like that. And then all you have to do is you actually have a striker right here on the knife as well. You can kind of see it there. So then I can just put my steel in and strike and actually use this for a fire starter if I need to in a pinch as well. So super handy knife. I really like it. I generally don't use it too much, but in combination with my other knife, it's definitely a good piece of equipment to take with you while you're camping. And then what good is a knife without it being sharp? I bring a sharpener with me while I'm camping as well. This is just a Work Sharp 3-phase or 4-phase sharpener. I forget exactly what the model is, but This ran me like, I don't know, $20 or something like that. Really not crazy expensive. It definitely is worth its while because I can sharpen my axe, my knives, whatever I might need while I'm camping. So highly recommend getting yourself a good quality sharpener for when you're camping. You never know when you might need it. Duct tape. This is another really important piece of equipment. I usually bring this with a small first aid pack. So duct tape is very important. If you have to ever, cut up or put up a wound or something, if you ever cut yourself, duct tape will do in a pinch, as well as having the first aid kit handy. I've got lots of holes in my tarp, my sleeping bag, sleeping mattress. If you're on the fire lots, that's gonna happen. So highly recommend bringing yourself a roll of duct tape just in case you might need it. Another piece of fire starting equipment is this bag right here. So I keep my flint and steel in this Ziploc bag, as well as with some newspaper, some birch bark, fat wood, that kind of thing. This is just my safety fire starting equipment, just in case it's super rainy or snowy and I can't find myself dry wood to start a fire. I can use this kit and get me through if I need it. This bag here holds all my paracord and cordage. So I've got paracord in here. I've got reflective tarp straps for when I'm ice camping. You never know if snowmobiles are driving around. It doesn't hurt to have a little bit of reflective equipment on your shack, and that way people know where you are and just gives you that added little bit of safety reassurance. Within this bag, I have different sizes of paracord as well. So you can see here, this is about a 5-6 foot length. This would be about a 12-foot length, and then this would be about a 18-foot length. I like having it cut in different sizes, and that way I can use different sizes for whatever needs I might have. So when I'm stripping up my shelter, if I'm doing like an A-frame tarp shelter, I'll use a 15-foot length between sets of trees. I can also tie these together if I want to. And then these are all tied up using just a very simple technique. So if I ever want to unravel these, I've tied them up in a way that allows me to do that without just untying them, and they all come out in a very even, uniform way. And then to do them up, all I do is just a simple overhand loop. So tie a little loop in it, just like this. And then all you have to do is put your thumb through that loop, like that. And then all you do is wrap kind of in a figure 8 form, just like this. And what that'll do is allow my paracord, and once you're done like that, you leave about a foot length, and then just start wrapping this around and in the middle. Do another overhand loop just to keep it tight. And then you go back in the opposite direction and wrap, not super tight, but just snug. And then wrap the remaining up. And then once you have just a little bit of a tag end, all you do is slip these off your fingers, and then you finish up wrapping and then put the tag end up through the top of that loop. Sometimes a little difficult, and then you're good, and you've got your paracord in a very nice, easy way. This is my headlamp, another piece of very essential equipment. This headlamp, again, I wanted something that was going to be a little bit better than maybe the cheap or budget varieties. So this headlamp is, I think it was $40, runs on a AAA battery or 2 AAA batteries. It's very bright as well, and you can control how bright you want it as well. So I highly recommend having a good headlamp. Super handy when you're in the trail or on the trail at night doing any ice camping. In the north where I'm at in Canada, it gets dark in the winter very early. It's usually dark by 4:30, 5 o'clock. So having a good headlamp while you're making dinner, getting back to your shelter, cutting wood, all those things just makes it so much easier and gives you that little bit more safety as well when you're out in the bush. Last but not least, my cooking equipment. So first thing I have here is my cutlery or my plates, cutlery, etc. So what I have is this set. I just got it, so I haven't actually had the chance to use this one yet, but it comes in this bag, and this is a Alox dinnerware set. So I've got 4 pieces to this set. They all fold up very nicely, kind of inside one another. So once you get this out, you can see all of these fold down. They've each got lids, and they kind of sit inside one another. Take them out. There we go. So I've got a large pot here. This is a 2.5 liter pot. So for boiling water, cooking, whatever you might need, this is a super handy piece of equipment. It's also got a foldable handle here with the silicone grip on it, so you don't burn your hand when you're cooking around a fire or over a camp stove. And then easily folds up and out of the way as well, if you're not using the handles for storage. I do most of my eating and stuff on this plate. I also kind of use it as a cutting board if I need it or whatever that might be. So stainless steel, super easy. Can actually clean this very easily as well. Just a little bit of water, pine needles, whatever you might have. And this comes clean very quickly and easily. Then the other parts of my kit, I've got a frying pan, again, same kind of design here. Then I've got a smaller pot in here. And then this set actually comes with a kettle as well. So if I want to boil water, make tea, coffee, whatever, I've got all the equipment necessary to allow me to do that. And then the other thing I really like about this is that they all have lids with the silicone handle on these as well. So if I'm cooking, they've got steam ports as well. I'm not going to worry about things, you know, it's going to boil faster for one, and then two, just allows me to keep everything sealed up, and if I'm not using it, it's very easy to get at, which is nice. The next thing on my list is my camp cup. I would highly recommend getting yourself a good camp cup. This is an Outbound. I got it in a set with my plate and cutlery. Just a very simple stainless steel design, very easy to clean. It's got this plastic handle which allows you to hold onto it while it's really hot, which is nice. The only downside I have with this cup is that you can't put it over a fire. Obviously this handle and the lid will burn. The lid also closes up, which is nice if you're not using it, and just prevents spillage or whatever you might have. So moving on, I've done a video on this before, but this is my fire maple stove system. So I've got my isobutane container. I definitely wouldn't recommend getting the Woods brand, which I got at Canadian Tire here in Canada. They don't fit inside the fire maple. I think some other brands maybe do, but this is the fire maple I have. This is the X2 Pro, I believe, which runs about $80 as well, or I guess it was on sale when I bought it. I'm not sure what they normally are, but I really like this stove. I've used it a dozen or so times now, and it's been fantastic. I would highly recommend it. Again, not sponsored to say this, but it's just worked very well for me, and it's not near as expensive as a Jetboil system or something like that. So if you're looking for something more budget friendly that still does the job, highly recommend getting yourself a fire maple. It's got this neoprene sleeve on it so you don't burn your hand as you're holding the pot, as well as this fold down handle that you can use to hold everything in there, and then it comes down and clicks into place. And then inside this, I've got the stand for the isobutane. And then I've got the burner assembly right here. It's actually got this valve on it that allows you to control the flow of isobutane as well. So that way, if you're wanting to simmer something or get a really good boil, you can either crank this up or turn it down nice and low just to heat things up. And then this is the pot holder. So you can fold this in and out, and this just holds up whether you're using a frying pan, a pot, a kettle, whatever that might look like. This is the assembly. It's part of the X Pro 2 kit, or X2 Pro kit. That's why I bought the X2 Pro versus just the regular fire maple, is because I can get this pot holder with it. Which again, probably not a necessity, but it definitely makes life easier when you're out in the bush. I'd highly recommend bringing a cutting board in the bush. Super lightweight, super easy to bring. This is just a normal kitchen cutting board. And I use it to cut up raw meat, vegetables, etc., etc. That way I don't have to get my plate dirty twice. I can use this to cut up my raw chicken or my raw beef or whatever I'm cooking. And then I can transfer that right to my stove, heat it up, and then just put it right to my plate so I don't have to wash it twice. And then a couple of pieces of underrated equipment or supplies I would recommend bringing are just simple freezer meals. This is just dehydrated beef stew and dehydrated chicken Alfredo. Again, if I have an evening where something goes wrong and I've got a setback and I don't have time to cook, or I'm so tired I can't cook, these are super easy just to throw in the pack. They weigh almost nothing. They take 5 minutes to cook and to eat. And I'd highly recommend bringing at least one of these. And that way, if you do get in a pinch and you need some quick protein and just a quick filler, you can crack open one of these and go to get a quick 53 grams of protein in your body to keep you moving. So yeah, that's my camping setup. Altogether, I think this camping setup would run roughly $500 all said and done. So really not super expensive. There's definitely hobbies out there that cost a lot more money and you can get a lot less enjoyment out of. So yeah, if you're looking to start out with a budget-friendly camping setup, I would definitely recommend some of these products. Again, do your research, use AI. There's a lot of good tools out there that can help you build a budget-friendly camping setup. And yeah, I'm interested to hear your recommendations in the comments below. So please drop those. If there's anything I'm missing or anything you think I should add to my camping list, please put those down in the comments because I'm very excited to learn a little bit more from everyone. So again, thank you very much and have a great day.